Is the next-gen car that bad? It's fair to say that the next-gen car has been NASCAR's riskiest car yet. Okay, it's not as aesthetically risky as the first model of the COT, but it's risky in all the other ways. Different wheels, different steering, new underbody, single lug nut tires, ugly forward slid door numbers, the list goes on. But for every one of these innovations, it just feels like the problems with this car are compounding on top of one another, to the point where we're making middle of the week, middle of the playoffs rule changes just to keep the cars on the ground. So let's take a look at how the next-gen car has changed racing across the series. The first major point that this car sought to bring was parity. Fans were tired of the same mega teams winning all the dang time, and so NASCAR put all the teams in an equal playing field with a spec car. And the result? The same mega teams still win all the time, just not all the dang time. 2022 is a record-tying year for most winners in a season, and 2024 is only one winner away from tying that record once again as of recording this video. And knowing how the Roval usually shakes out, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens. Yes, the points are still largely dominated by the Hendrick, Joe Gibbs, and Penske cars, but this car has allowed newcomers like 2311 and Trackhouse to join the party as well. While some teams continue to lag behind like Legacy, RCR, and Rick Ware, as a whole, the field is tighter than it was in years past. However, an unintended consequence of this parity is the difficulty in passing that we see on virtually every type of racetrack. Following a lackluster Bristol playoff race this season, Auto Racing Analytics was quick to note that in this race only a few years ago, the difference in speed between first place and 15th was roughly 0.2. This year, it was only 0.05. While this keeps the cars closer together and more optically pleasing on TV, it makes moving through the field incredibly difficult for most drivers who weren't driving an absolute rocket ship like Kyle Larson. But even if he got buried in the field, I'm not confident that he would have made it back to the front. This is the same issue that plagued 550 horsepower racing with the Gen 6 car. People complained about drivers winning by massive margins, so NASCAR attempted to tighten the field, and we got a package where passing was near impossible on intermediates. The car also has some fundamental issues that have yet to be addressed. One of the biggest being the underbody and rear diffuser. During this car's development, this innovation was being heralded as NASCAR's elixir to their greatest issue, dirty air. But in reality, the rear diffuser has done very little to actually fix the problem. On intermediate racetracks of multi-groove racing, you can argue that it's been an improvement, as the wake of the air created by the leading car has been substantially narrowed by the diffuser. But on every other type of racetrack, this only contributes to the passing problem even more, as the narrower stream of air is also more concentrated and powerful than it was in past generations of cars. So on single groove racetracks, generally short tracks or smaller intermediates like Darlington, it's incredibly hard to run behind another vehicle. Additionally, this underbody is incredibly susceptible to damage and can drastically influence the amount of grip a car has. Just recently, Kyle Larson cut a tire at Kansas and hit the wall early in the race. Despite the car having almost no visible body damage, the car was borderline undrivable at full speed for the rest of the race because of the damage done to the underbody. And for fans watching either at the track or at home, it's frustrating because yet another invisible force is impacting how their driver is running. And these flat underbodies also serve as a massive kite to aid in blowing cars over the moment they turn around. It's almost as bad as the wing on the back of the COT. And it's not just super speedways where this is a problem. These cars can launch for the skies on intermediates too. But while the underbody has created its fair share of issues, in my humble opinion, nothing with the next-gen car has created more problems than the wheels and the tires. These wheels are absolutely massive and create far too much grip. They're also equipped with massive brakes that shorten braking zones and create even less opportunities to pass on short tracks and road courses. NASCAR has taken out nearly all the downforce they can on short tracks, and you still hardly ever see drivers get loose and miss their marks. These wheels just create a ridiculous amount of grip. The larger 18-inch wheel design also means that there isn't space to create a tire with inner liners anymore, which along with the aforementioned underbody issue, creates the problem of cars turning into beached whales whenever they lose air in the tires. An issue that has been under intense public scrutiny lately due to how it works in conjunction with NASCAR's damaged vehicle policy. To clarify, the damaged vehicle policy hasn't changed in the next-gen era. It's just that you used to be able to drive a damaged car back to pit road with flat tires. Now, you can't, so by technicality, you can be ruled out of the race, like Josh Berry and so many other drivers have this year. And unfortunately for NASCAR, common sense rules are not their specialty. Maybe the most puzzling part of the wheel issue is the decision to go to single lug nut tires. A decision that seems to spit in the face of the idea of stock car racing. I'm sorry, I don't know about you guys, but I don't see Mustangs and Camrys out on the road with one massive lug nut on their wheels. After doing some research, supposedly this was done as a cost-cutting measure because this design is more durable and will last for more years than the old wheel design. But again, I ask, is the money saved worth all the other issues that comes with it? We used to hardly ever see wheels come flying off race cars like they do now. How long until one of these gets launched into the stands and seriously injures somebody? This wheel design is also the main culprit behind the dreaded fuel mileage racing that we see on super speedways nowadays. Because you can change tires faster than you can put fuel in the car, now fuel economy matters more than it ever has in the past. And usually, I'm a fuel mileage race defender, but when the entire pack is riding at half throttle, that's where I gotta draw the line. Honestly, the wheels kind of feel like the grand mastermind behind a lot of issues that plague this race car every type of racetrack. Everybody wants to point the finger at horsepower, understandably so, but the wheels are a much larger issue if you ask me. And the most frustrating part is, this is one element of the next-gen car that we're probably stuck with. It's unlikely, but if NASCAR wanted to take the tapered spacer off and give us some horsepower back, they could. If they wanted to take the underbodies off, they could. But redesigning the entire wheelbase and brakes of this car is a daunting challenge that will cost millions of dollars, and for that reason, they're probably never gonna touch it. In general, this car doesn't feel as modifiable as past generations of race cars. I mean, within 3 years, we basically saw an entirely different COT from the one we started with in 2008. And I can't even count how many revisions the Gen 6 car went through in its short 8-year history. In year 3 of the next-gen car, it looks and drives mostly the same as it did in year 1. And that's the most concerning part. I don't want to sound like too much of a Debbie Downer because for what it's worth, I actually like this car more than the version of the Gen 6 car we had to suffer through from 2019 through 2021. A few short years ago, we had a race car that couldn't make any contact on the sides without cutting a tire and would only top out at 170 miles per hour on intermediates. For all of its faults, I will take the next gen over that. But the other issue is, NASCAR has molded the schedule around what the fan base wanted 3 to 4 years ago. More short tracks, more road courses, and more super speedways, all of which were amazing with the previous generations of cars. But with the next-gen car, we don't really look forward to these types of racetracks anymore. Believe me, I live in North Carolina, and I hate that I can't take new race fans to Bristol or Martinsville and have a guaranteed amazing race to get them hooked. Instead, I have to take them to the Coke 600, which nobody wants to go to because it's 600 miles. And NASCAR might end the race early for no good reason. Nah, still not over that. But despite all the complaining I've done in this video, I do enjoy the next-gen car to an extent. Right now, it's a solid B- in my book. The frustrating part is, it feels like a student who has no drive to get that A or even a B+. It's just content to barely pass as NASCAR continues to sit on their hands and do nothing but throw minor, insignificant changes towards it year after year. We gotta fix the gridlock on super speedways, we gotta fix the dirty air on intermediates, we gotta fix the lack of passing opportunities on short tracks and road courses. There is a lot of work to be done. We can't just be putting band-aids on limbs that are barely attached. It doesn't fix the underlying issue. But most importantly, above all else, can we please put the door numbers back where they belong? These paint schemes look hideous. But what are your thoughts on the next-gen car? Let me know in the comments section down below. But don't forget to leave a like on this video if you enjoyed, subscribe for more videos just like this one, and check out dailydownforce.com for more awesome NASCAR content.